Yeah, that floater is clutch. He just kind of is very consistent for day in and day out with his work, with his energy. And so when things are going well, things are going bad, he kind of keeps that same demeanor. And so when the game's down the line, like, he's really encouraging, he's really upbeat, and ball came to him, and he made a play for us.
Nessa Nation, what is up? This is Hold My Banner, and yes, the Boston Celtics, they got the job done. Hashtag different here. I know Ountae Campbell, Adam Kaufman, the reason they do the hashtag different here is because that's the thing. That's the slogan, authentic fans and all of this stuff. I'm going to say hashtag different here because this time they didn't completely give it away against Toronto.
Yeah.
They won the game. There were no 29 turnovers this time around. You said it when we spoke a couple of days ago. What do you want to see in the preseason finale? Fewer turnovers. You know, you even said it, I think, like 17, 19, split the difference. I think they had 18. It was a cleaner game. Derrick White there talking about the legend, Xavier Tillman. And the reason he's a legend is not because he had the game winner. It's because he saved us from overtime in a preseason game. My God, we did not need that.
We did.
3-1 to wrap up the preseason. Celtics open up against the Sixers less than 1 week, 6 days. Against, well, we'll see if Joel Embiid's out there. We'll see if Jaylen Brown is out there. Sure. We knew about Jason Tatum, man. Sure. Oh, my goodness. Is Brown going to be okay? He's got a hamstring. He played 7 minutes.
I mean, Joe says he thinks he's going to be fine, right?
Well,
so he talked to him a little bit after the game and gave the quick brush off, like, hey,
gave us nothing is what he gave us.
He's going to be fine. No, I mean, I'm obviously worried about Jaylen Brown. And, you know, as we talk about this season and what's to come for this team, like, this was one of the things that was worrying about him. Like, will the increased workload, you know, be detrimental to his ability to play? Like, everyone talks about Tatum having surgery. Jaylen Brown had surgery in this offseason as well, you know?
Yeah.
So there are going to be some nicks and some bruises, and we got to see what that lineup is going to look like without him because, as we know, more times than not, the Celtics have had to play games without Jaylen Brown more than they've had to play games without Jason Tatum.
All right, but how many times have they played games without both?
Right, and that's what we got to see a little bit last night in an actual dress rehearsal for once.
A real dress. Both teams played guys.
Yeah.
In fact, I was wrong about this. I had said to you, I don't remember if I said it during the show, before, after the show, all of the above. I didn't think guys were going to play for Boston. The big guys, right? Like Brown, who I kind of wish had sat at this point, hindsight being 20/20 and all. Brown, White, who was great, played 35 minutes in this game. Yeah. Pritchard, Hauser. I didn't think any of those guys would suit up, or even if they did, we're talking about maybe a half.
Right.
That wasn't the case. I mean, Joel Mazzulla was, I don't want to say he was hell-bent on winning the game or anything like that. I don't think he really cares about the 3-1 versus 2-2, 4-0 versus 0-4, whatever. It's preseason.
Yep.
But Derrick White playing 35 minutes in this game, and he was fine. He was great, didn't get hurt or anything like that. No harm, no foul. I didn't see it coming, though. I mean, did you think we were going to get it like a full tune-up like that?
No, I wouldn't think that we were going to get a full tune-up to that experience. I thought we were getting a half, you know what I mean, going into that game. And then, you know, seeing the tweets roll through and see that they were playing their guys, I was like, okay, maybe we play our guys tonight, too. And then, you know, I look up at the scoreboard, and I'm like, oh.
That's right. You were in the building.
Right. That's right. Actually, we do have some B-roll to show off from, you know, me being in the building tonight, last night. But, you know, it was one of those things where I'm looking up and I'm like, oh.
Is that your seat?
No. See, look, my paper is not long like yours, Adam. I know you got that long New England paper. I'm just out there, luckily being able to catch some film of the guys before the game. But, no, I mean, just worrying about Derrick White's health, like, especially after seeing Jaylen Brown have to go to the locker room. There were some times where Derrick White hit the deck pretty hard. Even Tatum hit the deck, you know what I mean, and stayed down for a little bit. I was like, okay, Joe. Like, we've been here before. Because I was mad at him last season. I don't know if you were paying attention to this at the time, but, you know, when they went to Abu Dhabi and they were playing that first game and it was a dress rehearsal because obviously the NBA wants to show off.
Grow the game. Grow the game,
show off. So Jokic is actually playing for the Nuggets and Tatum and Brown are actually playing for the Celtics. And both of those guys in the green played 28 minutes. And I'm like, that's a lot of minutes for the first preseason game. And, you know, obviously the season went how it went. And it ended up, I feel like like catching up to them a little bit because they came into the mentality that we're going to play our guys all the time. And there was probably some time. No, I think there were times where they were up 30 and Tatum and Brown could have came out of games. And, you probably could have saved a little bit of wear and tear throughout the course of the year, but you built up the mindset of like, we're going to play, we're going to play, we're going to play.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks to, again, we're going to play, we're going to play, we're going to play, but also we're going to play differently, right? There's been all this talk about pace, playing faster. Jaylen Brown, we've played the sound here on the show before, him saying, I think on one of his Twitch streams that, he doesn't feel like he's on a basketball team. He feels like he's on a track team and all of this stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
But and this is purely speculation. Maybe this is annoying speculation and second guessing and armchair quarterbacking and all of that stuff. But you can't help but wonder, at least a little bit, right? When Jaylen Brown, and this may be nothing, he could be out there on Wednesday, no big deal.
Yeah.
But he plays 7 minutes, he comes up lame, leaves, holding the hamstring, all of it. You have to at least wonder if any of that is tied to how much they're running and how intense this training camp has been.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Jaylen Brown up close a couple of times now since last season, and he's definitely slimmed down a little bit. Last year he came into training camp very stocky, built up. That had a lot to do with the disrespect from USA and all the things that happened with Nike and all those other things. But, I think he felt like he needed to be more brute and battle-tested going into that season, right? And that may have weighed into the injuries as well that, plagued him at the end of the year. This year, it looks like he came into camp already a little more slimmed down, which might be because he wasn't able to be as active at the beginning of the offseason as he was at the end due to the injury and the surgery and all of that stuff. And then on top of that, like you said, the running and all this track star and all this energy that they're spending and wasting on trying to be the most just ready pipes-wise, like getting your pipes together, you know what I'm saying?
Get the stamina up, the conditioning, all of it.
It's a little concerning, though, when you're seeing him play 12 guys in a real tune-up, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, so
that speaks to a lot of things, which is the back end. There are just so many questions when it comes to the rotation, the depth of this roster, that this team isn't going to be running 8.
Right.
You're going to see 12 guys out there for regular season games.
Yeah, so why does everybody need to be a track star? And it does bring up these, non-contact injuries that we're seeing guys more and more have to have, because they're working out at these increased rates, right? So I would hope that, it's just training camp and we know NBA teams don't really practice and during the season, and maybe there are going to be the nights where they do plan to rest Jaylen Brown.
Oh, yeah, there'll be load management.
And we'll see, who we have out there, and can we go get one against the Wizards or the Utah Jazz without Jaylen, And hopefully they do go and get those because we know the wins mean more this year. But, it's definitely concerning to see Joe's mentality and obviously an injury this early on into this campaign for the Celtics.
Yeah, and again, we're not doctors, obviously. Any more. I mean, maybe some of you out there watching are doctors. I don't know, you tell us, tweet at us, give us a call, right? Get involved. Hop on the hotline here on the Vodcast Network on Nesson Nation. But I don't know. He came up again holding it. And so it's like, that's not the same thing as he pulled it, he strained it, it was tight.
Right, yeah.
So again, it could be nothing.
It could be.
It could be
I wouldn't say
absolutely
nothing. Not absolutely
well,
nothing.
all right, so you tell me, look,
something.
You played college ball. You certainly got more athletic genes than I do.
Yeah.
Is there do you worry about, people worry about hamstrings lingering, obviously, but usually that's, again, a strain, a pull. When you have a tight hamstring, does that linger?
It definitely does. It's one of those things where if you don't get the rest, right, then it continues to be a thing. And then if it is a thing, it can become an increased thing, right? So saying this, I've had the same injury where you have a tight hamstring and, whatever, you don't practice for a couple of days and you make sure that you're ready for the game and all this other stuff, which is a problem in its own because then your muscles aren't ready to go.
Right.
But you do that, and then at the end of the day, you look up and you're like, oh, wait, actually, I make this one misstep. and now I'm back to where I was because I didn't get the rest that I needed to, or I didn't take the PT and the physical training or whatever to get to where I wanted to be back at 100. So if you never get that thing to 100,
we can't have him entering a season already. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
at 90, right?
Yeah.
So they got to, they have a week off. That's a great thing, right? They got a week off.
Sure.
And if he's ready to go, for real, 100% full tilt, like how we look at Jason Tatum, being ready to go hopefully someday down the line, full tilt, I think they need to treat this the same way. Like if he's nagging or if it's even a little bit of soreness or tightness or whatever, I think he has to miss game 1, you know what I mean? And we'll see if that turns into game 2 and 3 and 4, whatever. But until he feels 100%, especially knowing that you're missing Tatum this year and knowing that the team wants to compete, which we'll talk about later if we agree with that or not, you have to make sure that he's healthy when he does play basketball for the Boston Celtics.
So no Tatum, no Brown today. Could be fine on Wednesday. We'll see.
Right.
Derrick White currently is the best player in the world. 33 points, 10 of 23 shooting, 6 of 17 from 3?
Yeah.
6 of 17. I know the game has changed, man, but like how many games did it take Larry Bird, one of the great three-point shooters ever, I think many would agree,
yes,
least in Boston history, and I'm not talking about percentages so much as real ability.
Yep.
How many games did it take Larry Bird to take 17 three-point attempts? That's what the game was versus now.
Right.
6 of 17 in a preseason game from three-point range, 7 of 9 from the free throw line, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Again, those blocks. 4 blocks for Derrick White in his 35 minutes. It just feels like, and I say this completely independent of Jaylen Brown. I would believe this if you're telling me Jaylen Brown plays 80 games this year, or if he plays 30 games this year, I'm going to feel the same way. One gives a better shot than the other, I guess. I think this is Derrick White All-Star year. And this is not a reflection on just this one game that we just saw.
Yeah.
I think he was on the cusp last year.
Right. Yeah, he was.
And now you don't have Tatum.
Especially when you see guys like, Tyler Hero. I'll bring that up and how he got in last year. And, really, numbers weren't that all awe-inspiring, So this could be a Derrick White All-Star year. I personally think that it's going to be tough to get there just because of what their record or where they are in the standings. It might be tough for voters to say, or coaches to say, hey, let's give the Boston Celtics 2.
You're only talking about 2.
I'm just saying, it might be tough. It was tough for the Cavs to get 2 last year.
Yeah.
There were some people who were like, Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, I'm not sure, blah, blah, blah. And they were taking this league by storm, ablaze, We don't want to talk about 3. You have to go back to those Warriors days when you had 3 guys on the team,
right,
getting into the All-Star game. So 2 guys is a lot. This Eastern Conference isn't as deep, obviously, with the stars, with the no Tatum and the no Tyrese Halliburton and the Dame being out, and moving back to Portland and also being out of the game this year. And there will be other injuries that happen that will take out
inevitably
some guys, but
we already know. Lillard's not going to be there. He's, other conference now, but also he's not playing.
Right.
Halliburton's not going to be there.
Not going to be there.
There's no way.
Right.
Come on.
So there's spots. There's spots available, but we just have to wait and see. I'm not there. I think the efficiency, like you said, in that game was a little spotty at times, right? And that's the Derrick White experience. Like Derrick White and Peyton Pritchard are both guys that can fill it up. And when they have their big nights, everyone's like, woo! But then when they have their quiet nights, people aren't saying as much. Now those are going to be highlighted as they are the second and third options on this team, right? So can he do it consistently? Can he do it on a night when he does actually have JB? Can he do it on nights when Peyton has it going too? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because Peyton obviously didn't have it going last night, and Derrick did. So that was great. But he has to do it consistently if he wants to be an All-Star.
All right, what I want to hear at the Garden this year at some point is Nimi Keita. My goodness, dude. Yeah. 8 points, 12 rebounds, 4 blocks, 20 minutes. Finally a good showing after a dominant performance for Portugal at Eurobasket.
Yeah.
And we'll hear from Coach Mazzulla and what he had to say about him. But just in general, as you were watching, again, in the building, this had to feel like, all right, dude, thank you.
Right.
This is what we've been waiting for. And now How do we see this during the regular season?
It was a really great showing. I have a lot of respect for Jakob Poeltl. I think he's a good NBA starting big, you know what I mean? A back-to-the-basket guy, physical, gets rebounds, does the dirty work, very old school kind of big. And it, you know, kind of a guy that you would like to see Tatum match up with, to see if he can match up with somebody who's a little more physical and like inside and not out there on the three-point line, something that Tatum's supposed to be also great at, right? Being closer to the basket. And man, I mean, he made Poeltl look like he was the guy who's like, was the guy off the bench and not the starter and all this other stuff. Blocking shots, getting rebounds, absolutely amazing in the short roll. Like he's setting that screen, getting to the free throw line. He's making plays. He has Scotty Barnes on him. He's dribbling around him, shooting fades over him, finding Minot on the drop off, getting him a dunk early in the game. Like, it was one of those games where, like, if I could give it a grade for Kata, like, that was like a 97, you know what I mean, out of 100. Like, it was almost perfect for him. Like, you can't play much better than that, which brings me to some concerns, like, if that's the best that he's got and we're escaping the Raptors by 2, you know what I'm saying?
But that wasn't just on one guy, better or worse.
No, it wasn't. But, you know, very great game for him, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this was, again, it was solid showing. It screams like, if Brad Stevens were still coaching, or if Brad did media availability after the game, he'd be giving us you don't need to be a star, you need to be a star in your role. Kata, last night, a star in his role for head coach Joe Mazzulla.
Joe, what did you take from Nemi's performance tonight? It seems like he's struggled, he's had his moments, but
tonight was good.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard. Like, you know, we're gonna be hard on Nemi, and you know, I'm really looking forward to coaching him throughout the year. But as I told him, this is what you've worked your whole life for, is a chance to start for the Celtics. And I think you see this with players, you know, when they step into different phases of their career, where it's easy to be the rookie, and then it's kind of easy to be the fourth string big, and then it's kind of easy to be the backup, and now it's like, hey, like, got to develop the mindset to deliver every night, and I think he has that. And I think it took some time, but like yesterday in practice, 2 days ago in practice, in tonight's game, he showed what he's capable of, and we just have to hold him to that standard. And he takes pride in that. He works at it, you know. But what we saw tonight is like that. I think he could be better than that, but you know, that's the guy we need, you know, more times than not.
Joe was just beaming, wasn't he?
Hey, man,
big old smile on that face.
Ear to ear.
So you just said, and I'm pulling up some sportsbook odds as well, just to really kind of emphasize what it is that I want to talk about for a quick sec before we hit the break.
Yep.
So the Celtics, 1, 2, 3, 4, they are 5th to win the Eastern Conference at 10-1 now, ahead of Detroit, which I think is interesting.
That is interesting.
And then Philly, Milwaukee, Indiana, Miami. Then you get to Toronto at 40-1. Now, the Celtics were not at full strength.
Right.
Now, we know there's no Jason Tatum, but we do think generally you're going to have Jaylen Brown. That's the hope.
Right.
So he only played 7 minutes.
Yep.
You noted just before, blew a double-digit lead late in the fourth quarter, almost went to overtime. You survived the Raptors, a Raptors team that might win 30, 35 games this year.
Yeah, they're not very good.
Was any of what you saw an indication or highlight fears that you have about this Celtics team going into this year, or is it more about the but you didn't have Jaylen Brown?
Yeah, I think the thing that they shored up was the rebounding. I went on them at the
finish.
last
I mean, it was +2, but it was plus.
Yeah, and they were just team rebounding. They were doing what they needed to. Kata was boxing out. Boucher going to clean up. Boucher would box out. Kata go and clean up. Derrick White clean. Everybody, you know what I mean, did their job. So 5 guys that went and rebound as Joe wanted. They finally went out there and did it. Then it became the questions about the guards again. Like, what's up, Peyton Pritchard? You can't go 1 for 11. Like, those days are over. We can't have those games out of you. You know what I mean? The assists were great from him, right? The 10 assists, and he still got 10 points.
Yeah, no turnovers.
No turnovers, right. That was fantastic.
Huge.
But then you go to Anthony Simons. You had the game where it was like, oh, the Anthony Simons game. This is what the 6th man of the year looks like.
Right.
And then this one was not as sharp and couldn't break a press, which is like, hey, man, you didn't go to college, but, like, that's going to college 101. You know what I mean? You start out as a guard in college, press break every single day, like press break, because you have to have those skills. He didn't go to college, came to the pros. Pros don't really press. So he never really developed those skills. Is that going to be something that teams really come out and do when, Derrick White's off the floor? All right, great, I could go press the Celtics. You know what I'm saying? Because Peyton Pritchard's not really a starting guard, whatever, in their minds, right? Anthony Simons doesn't really know how to press break. Let's go see if we can go get to these guys like that. And we know the turnover issues, just like the rebounding issues, have been the two things this preseason that everybody's been highlighting. So, if we have one, we're not getting the other. We need both to happen at the same time. And that's what I got nervous about in that game.
3-1. 3-1. That's where the Celtics finished their preseason. And if you care about 750 winning percentages, well, maybe you will love to hear what we're going to talk about next. Expectations for the Boston Celtics. We've talked about every team throughout the NBA here on Hold My Banner over the last several weeks, months. It's time to get into expectations for your Boston Celtics here on Nesson Nation when we come back. Well, we avoided some embarrassment. Not that we were invited, but we avoided some embarrassment. Joe No Mercy. Oh, I love that. Joe Mazzulla. This dude is certifiable. And I say that in the most flattering way possible. I love him. I would give Joe Mazzulla a lifetime contract to, at the very least, be affiliated in some way with the Boston Celtics. If you don't want to hand a head coach a lifetime deal, I get that. That's a hell of a commitment. But ambassador, front office member, dude who just hypes you up in the right ways. Yep. He had the annual media, I've played in this game, not this game, but these games. Yeah. The annual media game happens sometimes more than once a year. Media against media, get out on the parquet. This case, it wasn't the parquet, it was the practice facility, the Auerbach Center, but have a good time. Yep. Just hoop it up a little bit. Nobody, if some writers play well who have maybe some, not at your level, like college experience, but maybe some good high school experience, good on you. Joe Mazzulla broke the news to these media members just prior to this game, after the scrum, and said, by the way, you're not playing against each other. You're playing against the coaches. Yeah. So it was Joe and a bunch of the assistants and all the former college guys.
Jr., Phil Pressey.
57-4. That was the final score. Yeah. And look, every one of these people who was on the other side of this, because of the era that we live in now, they all either write or they've got podcasts or they do interviews. Everybody has given their dissertation on this game. Some were maybe a little embarrassed. Yeah. Others have said, one of the best moments of my life. This was incredible. I was D'ing up Joe Mazzulla. Right. Even if I did participate in this game, which, by the way, I might have sent it the other way, might have lost 57-2. I might have cost the team a basket. It would have been a blast. I would have had a lot of fun. Yeah. I don't think this is a common thing that happens across the NBA. No, not that you hear about, because this thing made all sorts of waves on social media. Yeah. I love that Joe did this, and I think he's just a nut.
I do too. I love that he did it. I love that these guys give a little perspective. You know what I mean? All right, you don't have to be as harsh, you know what I'm saying, to these NBA players and realize that their job is hard, because you see coaches of guys who didn't really make the NBA. Right. Maybe they had a little short stint in the league or something like that. Years removed from that. Right. Go out and smack you 57-4. So what do you think the NBA players, how good they are at basketball? So when you want to write that nugget, or when, I want to come on here and say, oh my God, Peyton Pritchard, you can't go 1 for 11. You can't do that. Yeah. I can have a little bit more perspective from that, from seeing it firsthand.
Well, you remember a few years back when, we're kind of getting off the rails here, we won't spend long on this, but you remember a few years back, Brian Scalabrine, who obviously is, popular analyst for the team and is certainly now viewed as more of a media member. Yeah. But obviously he played in the NBA for a long time, and he was generally he was a contributor off the bench. Yes. He obviously was not a star. I don't think Scal,
college, but not
star in college, not in the NBA. And I don't think Scal would be offended by me saying that. He would admit as much as well. Other than during that, post game after winning the championship, where he said, in 10 years I'll tell my kids I was the MVP or whatever the quote was. But Scal, only a few years back, there was that competition inspired by one of the radio shows in town where like average Joes off the street, in some cases former college players, could challenge Scal to play a game of one-on-one, thinking like, I could beat Scal. Like, he hasn't played in years. Right. He looks out of shape. No problem. This is easy. And Scal, like, I don't think he allowed a point.
Right.
He was literally just shutting guys out one-on-one, like 11-0, 11-0, 11-0. Like, yeah, I mean, you don't need to. If you were a star in college, certainly you're going to wipe the floor with media members who were not. But I think you're right. It does just add a layer of perspective, and there's a humbling component to it.
Right. As Scal says, he's closer to LeBron James than we are to him, which
right.
is 100%
It's fair.
true.
It's fair. You're
100%
Listen,
true.
you make the NBA, whether you're a superstar or the 12th dude, you're in the 99th percentile.
Yep.
So pretty incredible. Yep. But listen, Scal will not be playing for the Boston Celtics this year.
Neither will Mazzulla or any of those media members.
No, that's right. And hopefully Jason Tatum will. And we've talked about this, whether or not we believe he's going to. And now you've got some questions, at least, again, in the moment, in Jaylen Brown. But let's just, for the sake of it, presume full health for Brown.
Yeah.
And let's say Tatum makes an appearance sometime in the second half of the season. He's not like coming back in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
What are your expectations for this team? If I put it in Vegas terms, 40.5 is the over-under. Is this a 41-plus win team?
I was going to say 40.
So below 500.
Yeah, especially after watching them up close and seeing it throughout preseason. I think there's a lot of question marks still about this team, their identity, and from night to night who they're going to be. And when you have that, there is going to be times where you take risk and they work, right? And there's going to be times where you take risk and they don't work. And there are going to be the games where the Celtics get up quick in the first quarter and we go, okay, here we go. The shots, we're throwing up threes and they're going in and all this other stuff. And then the offensive rebounding issues settle in and the turnovers settle in and Jaylen Brown tweaks his toe and he's out for a quarter right now as we're wrapping him up and
a lack of depth.
Right. So those things are going to happen and there's going to be stretches where they play some really tough games, like we even talked about the first 9 or so games and how tough there's going to be, and there are going to be times where they lose games straight, which we haven't really had here in Boston in a while, right? There's going to be a time in this season where they lose 3 games straight. That will probably happen. We haven't seen that much over the last couple of years. How will they respond? We don't know. That's what's going to be the unknown throughout this entire year. We're going to figure out there's going to be bright points. 5 in a row. Oh, my God, we're here. We're back. There's going to be low points. That's what the Boston Celtics are in 2025.
So I think this team is above 500, so I'm going at least a couple wins better than you are.
42, 41.
Yeah, I mean, I just think
I think we're in the same ballpark, though. I could see 42. Like, I'm not against that.
Yeah, like, do I see them winning 50? I think the only way that happens is if your key guys, Brown and White, don't miss any extended period of time. They're playing basically every game, save for, the occasional tweak or load management or whatever. And Jason Tatum comes back in, let's say, February.
Yeah.
And looks pretty close to what he was pretty instantly.
Right.
At that point in time, I could say, sure, you're a 50-plus win team. Because I think we've discussed it. All these previews that you've been doing with various people that have been on the program. Yeah. The East is wide open. Yeah. It's wide open. Yeah. So, again, if
you might be talking to me in a higher, I don't know, like 45. That's where I kind of am at.
But here's the difference.
I just feel like I'm a little low
like,
on them right now after watching these last 2 preseasons.
Well, I just presented a thing to you where it's like, this needs to break right, and this needs to break right, and this needs it's like so many times going into the season, in previewing the Bruins season, which obviously is a week and change underway, we've had all these conversations about margin of error and how thin it is. The Celtics, in previous years, as a bona fide championship contender, if not favorite, have had wide or wider than most margins of error. That's not the case this year.
Right.
Very thin margin of error. Yeah. So I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, there are plenty of people that think this team could be a 30-win team. They could be a lottery team.
Yeah.
I happen to think they are a playoff team, not a play-in team that makes the playoffs, a playoff team, top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference.
And I'm okay with that. I think here's the thing, though. we might be in a situation with how stacked that Western Conference is, right, and how lowly this Eastern Conference is, where 40 wins does give you a 6 seed. Like, we could be headed there, you know? Like, 41, 42 is the team. Like, the only teams that have a plus 500 record could be the top 5 teams in the East, and everybody else could be just trying to struggle to get in there. We could be there. So this is one of those situations where, you know, it might, like I said, I could see it being 43 and I wouldn't be upset in them being a 6 seed. This isn't me putting a seeding on it. You asked me about wins.
Yeah.
And like just based off of what I've seen and their ability to make winning plays consistently, play after play, night after night.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we haven't had a guy who played well throughout the preseason. You know what I'm saying? Just like every single game they played in, they would play well. Like, and that's 4 games. So if we can't get that in a preseason where we got you just played well for 4 straight games, Josh might not, Hugo Gonzalez, yeah. But, like, we're not talking about 30 points out of them playing well. We're talking about
fan favorites.
Right.
You're talking about go buy their jersey.
Right. We're talking about getting a rebound here and making an extra pass there and diving on the floor there and getting a dunk there. That's not going to – it wins you games, but that's not going to be like that was the reason we won. You know what I mean? Type of situation. So we need a Jaylen Brown to be every night. We need a Derrick White to be every night. We need a Peyton Pritchard. Somebody in that starting lineup has to be hey, we penciling them in for 25 and 5. You know what I mean? And like, if we're not going to get that out of these guys, then it's a little concerning.
Who's the biggest X factor on that roster?
See, and like, if you asked me this question last week, it would have been a different answer. But today, man, I think it comes down to Kata. I think it's the front court.
Wow. Okay.
I really do. I think, like, especially after seeing rebounding means so much in basketball. Like, getting extra possessions, especially the way guys do shoot, even not just the Celtics, but, like, the league is upticking threes. Guys are making threes. League average is, like, 37%. Like, so if you're giving a guy an extra chance, you know what I mean, every 5 possessions to make a 3, and that's the best time to shoot it. You've been about in these basketball teams. Everybody knows that. Like, the best time to shoot a 3 is on the offensive rebound. So it's like rebound, kick, cash. How many times have we seen Sam Hauser hit that shot? Peyton Pritchard hit that shot.
Absolutely.
Derrick White hit that shot because it's a great shot and it's the easiest one to take. You're in rhythm, the defense is scrambling, you're wide open, and you knock it down. So if you're giving up those opportunities to teams over and over and over again, and Kata's not in there, doing his job, being physical, getting rebounds, being able to get out to the three-point line and actually guard guards when he's getting switched out, and people are, because you have a Peyton Pritchard out there, you have Anthony Simons out there who are inevitably at some point will let somebody pass them, and even Jaylen Brown when he's taking his rest and letting guys go by him, like, you have to be able to switch out and guard guards. So Kata's defense and rebounding are the most vital thing for this team's success this year.
I would agree that Kata is huge for this team. I think Anthony Simons is my biggest X factor.
I love that too.
And I think I feel like
your 6th man of the year.
But no, I mean,
but
not even in that way. Like, that's one end of the spectrum, right? Like, I present it, I guess, in a couple of different ways in terms of Simons being just such a big, again, factor. Because on the one hand, if he's really good, and the Celtics are playing well and winning games and saying, all right, maybe this guy got hurt for that team. This guy, like, all of a sudden the East is looking more wide open. Tatum's getting closer to returning. Maybe our ceiling is higher this year than we thought it was, and Simons could be a piece of it. Then if he's playing great, we don't want to deal him. And he's certainly helping us to win.
So you extend them or you find a deal for him or something.
We're just thinking about this season. You know, whereas if he sucks, okay? If he sucks, odds are the entire second unit stinks. So everything after your top 5 is bad. And then at that point, in some ways, I think you're more likely to deal him. Not like there's the two ends, right? You could either, if he's playing well, you could attempt to get something like the sell high. And I don't even know what you'd get. Nothing great, obviously. But if he's playing poorly, I think you could still offload him for one of these teams that just wants to absorb the expiring contract, absorb the salary, and might give you a second for him or something like that. So your return,
You're hurting my heart, man.
Your return is better if he's playing well, but it doesn't guarantee you trade him. I think if he's playing poorly, it actually does improve the chances of trading him just because some other team will want to take the contract.
Yeah.
But that all just comes down to the overall point of if you're playing well and have a good record and you're winning games and the bench is productive, I think he's a big part of it.
Yes.
And if you're not, like if he's not, you're not.
Yeah.
I think those are pretty linked.
Yeah, I think what we're saying is, though, it's more what you value. You know what I mean? Like what you value. I feel like as far as this team's success, especially when you're talking about like when Tatum comes back, like, I don't need Simons to play well when Tatum comes back. You know what I mean? For this team to be successful. If Tatum is...
Don't you?
Do I?
Think about how many guys...
I need Kata. I need that.
Think about how many guys you had on that roster last year that are gone, that were impactful.
Yeah.
Porzingis, Horford, Cornette, in varying degrees, obviously. But it wasn't just Tatum. Like, you needed those games. I'm not saying every night.
Yeah.
But you needed those games that Porzingis was great or that Pritchard was great.
Yeah.
You got fewer of those guys this year.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The Kata playing great, too, is also what I was talking about, what he did in this game. It was putting the ball on the deck, making a fading shot a little bit here and there.
And they still almost gave it away.
Right. You're right, but I'm just saying, imagine if we didn't have that, right?
Yeah.
Like, we had the night where Derrick White was the perimeter is going to get taken care of by somebody.
Imagine Simons played well. Maybe it doesn't come down to the wire.
But the perimeter is going to get taken care of by somebody, right?
Sure.
Even Boucher, is going to hit some threes here and there.
Yep.
You're going to have Derrick White. You're going to have Sam Hauser, who didn't play last night. You're going to have Jaylen Brown. You're going to have Peyton Pritchard. Somebody's going to take care of that for you. If he doesn't play well as a big man, who can come in and give you the physicality at that level to shore up the rebounding and shore up the back end and block shots? Garza's not doing it. Who else on the roster can even do that? Nobody.
Bassey available?
Right. So that's my point. If Anthony doesn't show up, they got 5 other options of guys that could go in there and play that role and do some of those things and make up for it, right? You do need the 20 points because we lost it from Tatum, right? And he's not going to get up to 20, we don't think.
They don't have a lot of. I didn't feel this way last year, obviously. You do not, on this current roster, have a lot of even potential 20-point guys in a game.
No.
You don't?
No.
I mean, obviously, Brown, White, Simons, Pritchard. After that, we don't. You trust Hauser to get there?
No, I don't.
How many guys are going to have to be out for Sam Hauser to have 20-plus points?
A lot, and they're going to lose a lot.
Right.
But it's 100%, but I'm just saying, you just named 3 other guys that I know I can go get 30.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe 40. Mm-hmm. Who else on this team, Adam, can go block a shot, get a rebound, be physical?
Boucher.
Be physical?
All right.
Have you seen that frame?
You had me until that.
I mean, like, I 4 blocks. We're not seeing a 4-block game out of Boucher. We're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the
and
one.
You're the 100
right,
guy.
I'm the 100 guy who wants to see him do it. We're not going to see that, right? So I think, personally, that's the most important. Now, we've been talking about this for a while. I know we got some other things to move on to. Most important thing now I want to ask you, what about this Boston Celtics team should we be rooting for? Like, should we be rooting for a 5 seed realistically? Like, is that the best for their future in this season? Or should we actually be rooting for this team to tank a little bit and go out there and get another point guard if Anthony Simons is going to be here, and go get Darren Peterson, or, get a forward who can help mitigate some of those aging elements of a Jaylen Brown and a JT, and get a, AJ DeBonta. Like, should the Boston Celtics be trying to tank this year, or should they really be trying to win?
What should we be rooting for the Boston Celtics? We should be rooting for the asset. We should be rooting for losses. We should be rooting for this team to wind up in the lottery, have some growth and development for guys that are going to be part of your plans going forward. And I'm not talking about guys who you already know who they are. Brown, White, Pritchard, Hauser. I'm talking about Ugo. I'm talking about Minot, who I'd love to keep around for a while, high-energy guy, even to some degree, maybe even a Boucher, but less him because I think for what he is, he's a proven NBA commodity at this point. Some of these younger guys, developmentally, you need an answer on Walsh. You need an answer on Shireman. You need to find out whether these guys are going to be a part of the program going. Already. We might. You need to know, though, this is a development season. Yes. Even if the organization does not want to view it that way, does not want to acknowledge that, that is the purpose of this season. It is not be competitive, be fun, make the playoffs, win a round, announce that you're still here even without Jason Tatum. Maybe he comes back, everything breaks perfectly in the world, you're a contender, oh my God, fire up the duck boats, we got a date with Denver coming up in the spring. Like that sounds fun. It's not likely, okay? It's not likely. Now, I, as a fan, as a consumer, as a follower, as someone who's going to be watching this team nightly, I don't want to root for losses. Right. That's no fun.
No, it's not.
But what's the best avenue toward building toward Banner 19 as soon as sitting here a year from now having this conversation with you and talking about what the roster looks like, or however long it takes? It's assets. Yeah. It is assets. Danny Ainge had to go through some uncomfortable times here in Boston in accumulating assets. And obviously some things didn't work out. Some things couldn't have possibly worked out better. But Brad Stevens, in his regime as POBO, as president of basketball operations, has never had a high draft pick. The team's always been competitive.
Yeah.
He's never been in position to. And that doesn't even mean, by the way, that the Celtics use it. Right. They may just trade it and acquire a really good player somewhere else. Here, you take the asset. We're going to take your star player that wants out. Yeah. Whatever it may be. But having the asset is just such a huge part of the equation that it's not what I want to root for. It's what we should be rooting for.
Hey, you might be right. I personally agree. I've already shared my thoughts. I wish this team were to tank a little bit, you know what I mean? The way I see it is, just like when Steph Curry went down and the Warriors went up and got James Wiseman, that was a huge addition for their team. Yeah. They didn't develop him correctly. I'll give you an example of when a team did do it correctly. What about the Spurs going to get David Robinson goes down? You have Tim Duncan.
Yeah, they laid an egg for 1 year and got him Tim Duncan.
And they got him a dynasty. So
yeah, should have wound up here, but that's
besides the point. So, I will obviously be personally rooting for this team to win every game.
Yeah.
But if it starts to slide a little bit, I might be banging the drum of like, hey, let's go lose.
Well, it's all gravy ultimately.
Yep.
Celtics win, cool, that's fun. They lose, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
You're not right now in the contender conversation.
No.
You know who feels that way? Al Horford.
Yeah.
Al Horford, as politely as he knows how, sort of stomping on the grave on his way out of town. We're going to hear what the new Warriors starter had to say when we come on back here on Hold My Banner. We're here on Hold My Banner. You see this tweet from Legion Hoops. Al Horford says the financials and Jason Tatum's injury played a big part in him leaving the Celtics, per Nick Friedel from The Athletic. Horford also felt like Boston could no longer compete for a championship. Now, listen, I've read the article, and it is not from Al as harsh as that is worded in the tweet, as that has been aggregated. Right. But the sentiment is there, and here's my problem with it, Ante. If Al wanted to choose money and a starting opportunity for a team that's going to be competitive out of the gate, fine. I have no issue with that, and I thank Al Horford for what he did in Boston and his leadership and popularity and being part of Banner 18, and maybe one day he'll have that number in the Raptors, all of that. We've talked about it. Where I get a little agitated is the notion that Golden State has a dramatically better chance of winning a championship than Boston, because it doesn't.
According to that ESPN sim that came out a couple of days ago, the Warriors are going to the final and are going to have the best record in the NBA.
Yeah, that's stupid. Give me a break. Steph Curry he's He's getting close to the end. And we've seen signs of it the last couple of years.
Draymond, for sure.
He could show out from time to time, don't get me wrong. But the Steph that we all talk about ain't there anymore.
Right.
Jimmy Butler, we'll see. That was very up and down last year.
Regular season Jimmy Butler is uninspiring.
For sure. Yeah. And you know what? Playoff Jimmy Butler last year with Golden State wasn't all that special either.
Yeah, not against the Timberwolves. It wasn't that great. Against the Rockets, it was pretty good.
Great. The Rockets, who stunk. I don't care what their regular season record was. I don't care about the regular season. Houston we talked about this last show. Houston had no chance of winning a championship last year. The Golden State Warriors, in a loaded Western Conference. The Celtics, if they get Jason Tatum back, I will proclaim this. If the Celtics get Jason Tatum back this year and he looks like he looked last year or pretty damn close to it, the Celtics have a better chance to win the East than the Warriors have to win the West. And I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, it's not close. I also think you have to go back to what we were talking about last episode with the GM survey, right? We have that image, I think, right here. The GM survey, they were most worried about the second apron, right?
Right.
And with the second apron, it brings these issues of trying to keep talent year after year after year. Jimmy Butler just got a $60 million contract a year.
Right.
Steph, we know what he makes. Draymond, we know what he makes because they have to send Clay packing home. So by him signing a multi-year deal with them, like, okay, yeah, this year you might be able to play for the Warriors. Who's to say they don't do you like KP and Drew did in Boston?
There were all sorts of rumblings, and I know we got a break here, but there were all sorts of rumblings that Al Horford could wind up with Denver before they got Valanciunas, right?
Yep.
Was that who went there?
Yep.
And I was rooting for it. Yeah, Al, go to go to Denver, man. Come off that bench, or even if you start alongside Jokic from time to time, like that's a title opportunity.
Yeah.
Not Golden State.
No.
Golden State's just getting the bag compared to what else was available. And more than Boston could offer. And that's fine. Respect. Get your money. But don't say it's because of the ring. The ring's not happening out in Golden State. It's just not. Boston might win again before Golden State does. And I stand by that.
And they're also negative $80 million in the cap right now. So
gross.
Third worst in the NBA. So I'm just saying,
Talking about Al Horford going to Golden State, and this may be a precursor of what's to come, is legitimately right now giving me a leg cramp. We're going to break, and when we come back, Russell Westbrook, he's got a new home. It ain't Denver. Sacramento? Sacktown for Russ? We'll get into it. Shams Charania breaking. 9-time NBA All-Star Russell Westbrook has agreed on a deal to sign with the Sacramento Kings. The 2017, almost a decade ago, league MVP enters his 18th season. This, of course, news this week, just yesterday, as we sit here coming off again, he's bounced around, but he was productive for the Nuggets last year. Ountae, 75 games, started 36. He averaged 13, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, a steal and a half, shot about 45%. From the field. I mean, certainly not looking like a dude who's about to be 37.
Right.
He's going to a Sacramento team, though, that I'll say at the very least Vegas is low on.
Yeah.
Over under 34.5 wins, which is kind of nuts. And this is where I fall victim to names, to talent. Doesn't mean it all meshes well. Westbrook, Sabonis, who I love. I would trade for him in a heartbeat. Had a crush on him since college. DeRozan, Levine, Schroeder.
Yep.
How's he going to fit in?
Not well. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. I mean, you got a team that has DeMar DeRozan on it.
Yep.
Who wants to get to the mid-range.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got another guy with Russell Westbrook who's inefficient but wants to get to the mid-range. I don't see this being a great marriage for them. I thought that this team had some great things going for them last year, but they just keep throwing stuff at the wall. Like, we saw Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan in Chicago, and it didn't work, and they decided to bring it here. We've seen Westbrook on teams that have poor spacing. Even seeing that Keegan Murray is missing some time and going to allow them to not have spacing. You're going to put him on a team with Sabonis, who doesn't shoot threes, and DeMar DeRozan that doesn't shoot threes, and you know he's going to play minutes with that starting lineup, even though Schroeder should probably start for them to start the year. You will see time where he's out there with those two guys. And guess what you're going to get? A lot of dudes trying to get to the exact same point on the floor. I can't imagine that it's going to be very good. There will be the games where Westbrook does have the triple-double while guys are hurt and da-da-da-da and whatever. I see this more as a thing where Westbrook probably ends up getting dealt at the trade deadline. That's where I see this headed.
Vet minimum $3.6 million, I think he got on the one-year deal. Man, do you remember, I mean, there were conversations at this point, this is what, 6 years ago, whatever it was, as to whether he'd even ever leave the Thunder.
Right.
And now it's Thunder, Rockets, Wizards. Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets. Here comes team number 7, and as you just indicated, maybe team number 8 at the trade deadline. Dude's turned into a mercenary.
He really has. And, you know, another thing that he's going to take off of his list, at least, is he's going to end up being the all-time leading scorer for point guards in NBA history after this season. He's just trailing Oscar Robertson by about 505 points, I think it is.
Already has the most triple-doubles.
Yeah, so, you know, he's going to go do that. I think this is a good opportunity for him to kind of cement his legacy. I think there will be some, you know, some growing pains over there, but he did start to shoot the 3-ball way better for the Nuggets last year.
Yep.
Obviously, having Jokic helps out. He's going to have to do a little bit more facilitating with this group, which I hope that he can get back into his bag and do that a little bit. But at least he will be the all-time leading scorer for point guards in NBA history and the all-time leading triple-double guy, as you said. So he will notch those two things and hopefully sunsets after this. Please, Russ, please.
No chance the Kings are even decent, huh? I've had the Kings on my, like, middle-of-the-pack, like, threat for the play-in kind of, not even that.
I always have led myself to believe that the Kings were going to figure it out.
Light the beam, man!
Yeah, and Doug Christie, I like Doug Christie, but, you know, I'm not too sure about him just yet. We'll see.
Beam is out. Somebody unplug the beam.
Please do.
Celtics are starting up on Wednesday. That means we've got one more opportunity to preview this season. It comes Tuesday, 1 o'clock right here on Nesson Nation. Our own Nesson Zone. Travis Thomas going to join us. Going to be a 3-man weave as we get you ready for the eventual chase for Banner 19. For Toby, for Jetty, for Ante, I'm Adam. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you again soon.
Deuces.